As Phoebe places her hand on your shoulder, you actually start to hear a crowd. You look around with your eyes, but you see no one from this crowd. Phoebe smiles warmly at you as you take in your senses. You can hear yelling about a fish market, purebred goats, strong horses, and you can hear a woman calling out about the latest dyes, fresh-baked breads, fruits and vegetables straight from the orchard and gardens. Despite being in this overcast and shadowed swamp, you can feel warmth on your skin as if you were standing in a bright sunlit field, and you can feel a light breeze through your hair, and you close your eyes. And whenever you close your eyes, you see a vast marketplace. You see hundreds of people, but they are wearing much older garbs than what you're used to. No one here looks to be competing for fashion. Everyone is dressed in simple tunics, and no one is wearing any kind of footwear. You can see men carrying a sword and wearing a blue simple tunic every now and then, most likely signifying themselves as some kind of guard patrol. As you see the expanse of this market and pan across it, you see almost no buildings, just tents. You see the silver coins being used. As you are an educated person, you know these coins to be among some of the first coins ever used, and you think you're looking at a realistic depiction of an ancient city, Lydia. You flash open your eyes and you see Phoebe just smiling at you, and the others around you don't seem to be reacting in any way. As you hear the voices start to soften and the smell of the fresh food start to fade, you take one last look of suspicion before closing your eyes again, and you are immediately back in the market, and the smells and the voices and the sun is on you again. As you pan across this market, you come across only one building. While it is a simple building made of clay with one window at the front that was carved out with no coverings, and a doorway with just a blanket as the door, it would seem that this is the building of a successful vendor. You see a woman sitting down, talking to others around her as her hands work a shuttle across a wooden frame. It appears she is weaving a tapestry of some sort. It appears to be just an apple, but the way she is weaving it is like the apple almost seems to be leaning out of the tapestry itself. The way she moves her hands gracefully and quickly is almost hypnotizing. The people talking are the only things keeping you from getting sucked in. You can hear people asking how much for a tapestry, and she smiles in response without looking. People shout how much for lessons, and she simply responds that there are none. And you can even hear men shout how much to make you a wife, and you hear her laugh gently as she responds that she does not have time for a husband. And she actually stops weaving, stands, and turns to the man who said it. You see a woman with dark red lips, black full hair just past her shoulders, light skin, and an hourglass figure, and she's smiling. She waves her hand around at her work very proudly before speaking. She says, "My good sir, look around you. If I was to take a husband, I would be a cook, a mother, and a washer. I would not have time to weave the tapestries that have taken such time and effort that they could have been made by a god of Olympus." And with your aerial view of the situation, you see an older woman quickly make her way to the circle of people. The woman is gray-haired, hunched, uses a cane, but moves swiftly and deftly through the crowd. As soon as she is to the front of the crowd of the people, she speaks in such a way that it seems to drown out the crowd around her, despite the age in her voice. "Weaver, you speak of things you do not know. You would compare your work to a god that rules over you?" The weaver, youthful and prideful, hesitates for a moment before responding, "I would." The old woman drops her cane. "Then let it be so." At that, the old woman swirls in gold before glaring down at the weaver. A tall, beautiful, and pale woman stands in the crowd, wearing a white dress with blue inlay, golden and decorated pauldrons, a golden round shield holding a golden spear, and wearing a winged and golden helmet, is the goddess Athena. The entire crowd, including the weaver, bows before the goddess. Athena slams her spear on the ground, making a loud and thunderous boom. The crowd backs away in fear. Athena calmly but angrily speaks to the weaver. "Many mortals wish to be a god, so much so that they would compare themselves to us. I am shocked that this weaver would ever think herself as our equal." She glares and slightly grits her teeth. "My equal." The weaver bows lower as Athena walks towards her and starts to speak again, more calmly. However, I believe in fairness and having the opportunity to prove yourself. Therefore, we shall have a contest. We shall see who is the better, and the people will judge as Zeus watches from above. You can see the weaver's back expanding rapidly as she is bowing, her breath rapid and her body slightly shaking. What say you, mortal? Care to prove your worth? As the weaver looks around, she can see everyone staring at her. She can feel their judgment. You hear a light and uncertain, yes. The goddess throws her hands up. Good, I will take this loom and you can take the one you were using. We will take 1 hour. The crowd will watch and judge after that. There are cheers heard throughout the crowd. For the next hour, looms can be heard, rapid breathing can be heard, sweat can be smelled, and the movement of hands are almost as beautiful as an orchestra playing a song of the century. Both Athena and the woman work quickly and smoothly. Both of the women are impressive and focused. The crowd just waits patiently, barely talking. After an hour, Athena smiles. Your time is up. She looks over and sees the woman sitting quietly, her tapestry covered and waiting to be unveiled. Athena maintains her smile and stands as she speaks. I will go first. As she stands to the side of her tapestry in plain view in all its glory and fright, it depicts mortals being punished by the gods with a golden thread against a white background. The colors, threads, lines, and tamping are perfect. The crowd clearly sees in one corner that Hera and Zeus are punishing Thracians. In another corner, Hera is turning a woman into a crane. The third corner shows Hera turning another woman into a stork, and in the last corner a young woman is being petrified in a grassy field. In the center of all this was the dispute between Athena and Poseidon over who should get Athens. You know the story well enough yourself as a follower of Athena. The crowd clapped and cheered as they fell silent as the crowd and Athena looked over at the weaver. The weaver waited for a moment, looking at the ground, before she looked straight up at Athena and pulled the sheet from over her tapestry. The crowd gasped at how beautiful it was, how much it shined, and how much the colors seemed so real. The threads of silk, wool, and some kind of metal made the tapestry alluring, but the crowd stayed silent and light murmurs can be heard as the tapestry picture came into focus in all its glory. It pictured gods using deception and illusion to force themselves on women. It showed Apollo in 6 different scenarios, changing and forcing his pleasures onto deceived women. It depicted Poseidon also in 6 different ways, committing the same atrocities. Lastly, in bold thread, it showed Zeus. It showed 9 acts that Zeus had committed against women. It even showed Persephone in one of them. Athena was so enraged she immediately threw her stool back and shattered it against the clay building. She took the weaver's tapestry in both hands and tore it in half. She tore it into several pieces before turning her anger on the young woman. She wrapped her hand around the woman's throat as she swung over and over. The crowd screamed and ran as bones could be heard cracking. After the woman was left twitching on the ground, bloodied, bruised, and broken, Athena fled to the sky. Time seems to slip by as now night. The woman is not on the ground anymore, and her tapestry is gone. Athena can be seen sneaking back into town. She moves silently between tents as there are no more crowds of people. Insects and the sounds of people sleeping are the only noises. Athena smiles as she approaches her tapestry that she left behind. She starts to pick it up, but stops. She looks inside the clay building, and your view is moved to behind her and over her shoulder. You both see this woman hanging from a beam using her own tapestry weave. However, you feel Athena's smile fade. Athena reaches up and pulls the woman down. You hear a snap of the neck when the weave breaks and she falls to the floor. Athena kneels down beside her. Athena places her hand on the woman's chest, and a blue light glows lightly. You hear Athena whisper, "You are not done. Your punishment is not over. You decided to spend your life weaving lies and spinning threads. You shall do it forever. Your children, your children's children, and your lineage until the end of time will spin their threads and their lies. However, they will do it in such a way that no one will admire them. They will fear them, run from them, and try to kill them. Your punishment is just beginning." Athena stands and takes a step back as the woman's body starts moving. Her chest rises with breath. Her eyes shoot open and narrow in grimaced pain. Her fingertips fall away as black and sharp points carve their way out of the skin and fingers and bones. Her skin tears on her forehead as 6 additional eyes start to form. She rolls over as cracking and breaking can be heard. 8 large, thick, hairy legs almost as long as her break through her skin. Blood drips over her as she faces the floor on her knees. She sees Athena and starts to scream why, but is cut off. Her voice muffles and clanking can be heard as teeth, covered in blood, fall to the floor. She looks up at Athena again as large and acute mandibles spread out of her mouth. As she begins to cry and weep, the mandibles fold back into her mouth. Athena takes a step back as blood flows across the floor. You hear a cold voice come from Athena. Scurry away, Weaver. Climb and build your threads. I will see to it personally that you are never able to escape your fate, Arachne.